Hello, welcome to a new episode of Rants with Danny Shi. Happy New Year to everybody celebrating. Happy Year of the Snake. I think that happened a week ago. Not really sure exactly which day, because apparently American companies still celebrate the greatest holiday of the world. But anyway, Happy Year of the Snake to everybody. It is February 1st, a Saturday. We're 1/12 the way through 2025, and we continue to have John Foster on this podcast. I'm really excited about this particular show because I mentioned to John before we started. I think for a lot of Taiwanese people, we like to hear how baseball people outside of Taiwan think about the CPBL. I think baseball people in Taiwan has a good understanding, but for fans, we're still very curious about how foreigners think of the CPBL. So this episode will mostly focus on how John thinks of the CPBL, the players, the level of play, the competitiveness, and how he measures CPBL to the rest of the baseball world, and what is a good criteria for us to measure the health of a baseball league. Well, actually, before I jump in, hi, John. Nice to
How's
meet
it
you again.
going? Of course, I love this, and I think it's awesome. It's something special, and I love doing it. So it's good to to kind of just sit there and just kind of talk about the stuff that I think nobody really knows or about me or my thoughts or anything, because I've just been as a foreign coach, even if I'm in the majors, I'm kind of below the radar unless I'm a manager. So.
Yeah,
But there's a lot that's going on.
yeah, yeah, and it's again we talked about this. I think in any culture outside of a few, like I think America is an anomaly in this case, where like when you see a foreigner, and especially one that doesn't speak the predominant language of the country, there is a distance, and there is a fear of going up to them and talk to them. Especially in Taiwan's case, is especially unique because I still believe that the Taiwanese education does a very good job teaching English as a secondary language. I think a lot of
Mhm.
Taiwanese people are very good at especially reading and listening to English, but they don't have the confidence in talking in English, especially when they see a foreigner on the street, which is like when I see this a lot when a tourist comes to ask for help. The Taiwanese people are some of the most friendly people. If you go up to
Mhm.
them and ask for help, or if you seem confused, they will come to you and they say, "Hey, do you need help?" But
Mhm.
outside of that particular situation, even if their English levels are at a pretty high level, considering it's a secondary, like a non-predominant language, they don't really like to talk to foreigners. So I'm very happy to have you on and giving you a chance an opportunity to share your thoughts on the CPPL, because like you said, we don't really hear a lot from you when you're in
No.
Taiwan. So
No.
this is great.
Even for the last even though I've been there 7 years.
Yeah, like when we first talked, I was asked you like, you came through with Snyder, right? You're like, no, 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 no. Like that's my story at all. So tell us
Yeah.
about your story. Like you actually went to China first. You were in mainland China before coming to Taiwan.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about your journey, ending up in with the CTBC brothers.
Yeah. So I was in mainland China working for I was in Changzhou and Jiangsu province. So I traveled between Nanjing, Wuxi, and Changzhou. And I was the head of a developmental center there for Major League Baseball. And I actually was looking um, to re-up for another 2 years. And when I did, there was going to be kind of a demotion, I would say, but it wasn't like my pay and everything was still going to stay the same. And I signed another 2-year deal, everything. But I was going to move from being the head developmental to being the pitching coach. And at that time, I thought that, well, if I'm going to be thought of as a pitching coach, I think I should probably go where I'd be better suited. So I looked at the nearest professional baseball league, which was in Taiwan. So I flew there and went there and basically forced an interview on them and has just said, "Hey, look, I'm kind of falling in your lap. I have major league experience. I've been in China for 2 years. I understand the culture. My kids are in local schools, and I'm kind of a, and I'm really close, and I'm a foreigner. So, if there's anything we can do." And then they said, "Well, I think you need to talk to the manager." So then I went and I met with the manager and talked to them, and then that was it. I mean, I tried to meet with every single team. I would sit in their front office and just wait. Like, hey, do you work for the Lions? Hey, do you work for the football and
Yeah.
baseball team? And I got some people to talk to, but as you know, like you just said in Taiwan, it's a little like they look at you like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you lost? Can I help you? Like, yes, you
You're right.
can. I'm trying to find somebody in the front office so I can talk to them about a job. They're like, what? You don't have an appointment? I'm like, nope. I'm showing up right now. So, and that's ultimately that's exactly how I got this job.
So how many teams did you talk? Was the brothers the first team that you talked to, and then bam, like
Uh,
you're
I had I had small conversations here and there, but nothing really that held water, And um, when I went to the CTBC bank headquarters and I went downstairs there, I had spoke to the assistant GM at the time. I got him in there and basically, forced him to meet with me and sat down at Starbucks, and it took about maybe 10 minutes. And then it was like, I think I need to talk to the manager. And so the other ones it was more
so like
like,
did you DM him?
kind of like that. And, oh, hi, how are you? What's your name? That was kind of it though. Like, even
Yeah.
when I wanted to give a resume and whatever, it was kind of like, they weren't interested. And I get it. It was August. Like the season was still going.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
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 No, I went there
Yeah.
in August.
Yeah.
So of course it's not the best
So
timing.
uh, you're right. So so like I you you basic how did you reach out to the assistant GM? Like, did you go to one of the games and say I'm interested, or like did you find like somebody on like Instagram? I don't know
I,
if like
I just got
Facebook at the time.
I got his email.
Oh.
I got his email address and then just sent an email and just bombarded him like, hey, I want a job. I'm looking for a job. And, do you have anything available? I'd emailed him the year before, and I just basically got nothing. And then I emailed again. I said basically like, I'm staying in Taipei. I want to meet you.
Hmm.
Like, I'm here for 9 days. I want to, I want to talk about coming over here.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, I don't think I got a reply at that time. And I just showed up at the offices and then just asked
That's so
around. And then he ended up coming down. Yeah, it's a very, very old school method, and I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. But I wasn't desperate at all. I had nothing to lose, and
Mm.
I just knew that it was a good step for me, and it was the right move, and ended up being probably one of the greatest things I ever did. Taiwan's changed me in many, many ways.
Because to an extent, you had something in your back pocket, right? Like you could go back to Nanjing, or you could go back to the mainland China and still stay with that job. So yeah, that's an interesting journey for church, story for me because I was in that situation. I was looking for jobs like a year ago. So
Really?
what I think at one point I'm going to do that again. And everybody's story is a little bit different, and everybody's
Yeah.
advice a little bit different. So that's so cool. When you first got to the CPBL, when did you start? You started as like a guest coach, and then the following year you became like a full time position, right? And so, what was your
No,
first?
no, that's not how it was. No, I was originally
Okay.
hired in that position, but it was I came in October for the instructional league, for the fall
Oh,
camp,
okay.
but
Mm,
they couldn't necessarily announce it at that time. They had a lot of things were going on at that time that they couldn't and didn't want to announce it to add um, more problems or drama or
yeah.
stuff because there was like a whole bunch of moves. Like I remember when I arrived, some guys were leaving the team and the team was going to playoffs. And I can't remember. I
Yes.
think
Oh.
it was like
Oh yes.
iPong and
Yes.
some other guys. I don't know anything about it. I just I have no idea what that was, but I know that there was a lot of things going on at that time, so that's why that it was just that's why it was done that way, and I thought it was the right way to do it, truthfully.
Yeah, I for because I think a lot of listeners, especially from the US, I think many of them joined in 2020, but in 2017, the brothers at the time had uh had a few all-star level players,
Okay.
and they, you know, I think alluding to some of the culture stuff that you were talking about when you first got the brothers last episode, there was a need for a culture change, and
Hmm.
and it for a culture change, everything starts at the top, in the locker room, and
Yeah.
the team basically felt it was necessary to basically discipline some of the players, and they basically they released four of their top all stars, and then one
Was
they
was
go,
it that
okay,
many?
it
I
was
can't.
so it
I don't
so
remember.
the
At that time, I was so out of it that
yeah.
I don't even remember who it was. Truthfully.
The situ the not the event, but like the whole, not scan it wasn't scandal either, but the whole thing is called, the in Mandarin is like the five tiger general scandal. It's not a scandal, but it's just because like there's a story within Chinese history. Like there was one particular part in Chinese history where one but there was a civil war going on, and one side had five really strong generals, and so they call it the Five Tigers. And then so they used that same name and they applied it on these five people, because those five were like, again, like the all star type, like some of the like the big time starters and everything. One of them is
Okay.
Miguel Ake, which signed a huge deal. I think at the end of 2015 with the brothers,
Oh,
he jumped
that's
ship
right. I
from
think
Lamigo to the
he was the
brothers.
highest paid. I think he was the highest paid at
Yes,
that time.
and
Yeah.
he was the basically it was the most well known and the best player out of the five,
Mm.
but he was signed such a huge deal that basically he was thrown. We like in the fans we call it the second army jail. Like he was not allowed to play in the first army, even though he's like,
Mm.
he's like the signature player of the league. And then the four other players, the brothers, basically let him go.
Mm.
It was a huge deal because all four of them were all stars. Um, uh, uh, what is it? Box office kind of figures, but they let him go. They
Hmm.
just released them, and it was basically, I forget if they explained it particularly what the reason was, but it's basically on disciplinary
Oh.
grounds that they let him go. And
Oh.
then the
Okay.
Fubon Guardians picked them up, picked I think four of them up, and then yeah, and then it was right before, like, you knew something was weird before the playoffs because not a single one of them was in the playoff roster, which is odd because
Mm.
those are all stars. And so yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. There was a lot of things going on, and brothers being the brothers, you now know the brothers being the brothers. All of their news are top of the sports pages in Taiwan. So
Yeah.
um there was just a lot going on. Yeah, so you're right. Like, so
Yeah.
that explains it. Like, they didn't really announce it, but I just remember because I remember reading your your history on like the Wikipedia page. It was like the first couple months you're like a part time. On by name you were like a part time instructor or like a guest coach or whatever. But it now makes
Hmm.
sense because we're trying. Like, there was a lot going on. So I guess if you had gone to Taiwan a couple months later, nobody would have even like if you've gone to their offices, they probably wouldn't talk to you because they'll be in the middle of that turmoil. So you actually went there at a perfect time, like right before all of that was happening. Um,
Yeah, but I
and
don't think
I think
there wasn't
2017 was on the
anything with the
first of
coaches
of
though.
the Snyder era.
Yeah, there
Right,
wasn't
right.
anything with the coaches. It was just it was just the players. I think I don't know. I really never got really fully involved into it, but I just remember I remember sitting there playing against against Ipong, and then the guy from
Yep.
Fubon was the closer for them, and I was like, dang, would be nice to have them against us. But because at that time they were like they gave us so much problems, man. Like
Right.
just facing them like with having him as a closer and everything. It was like, holy smokes, man. you know.
Yeah. Um, When you first got to the CPBL, you started within the second, basically the farm league, the second army. What was your first impression of Taiwanese baseball or of the CPBL when you first got there?
Well, I kept an open mind, and I came in thinking to myself, um, I'm not going to treat them any differently than I would if I was with the Yankees. So I'm not going to say that, Major League Baseball is better than this, do what I say, or anything like that. I just wanted to, and I didn't take anybody's word for it. Like a lot of people would give me like try to tell me some certain things that were going on and whatever, and I kind of just stayed out of the mix from and just made my own kind of opinions up. And what I found was the guys are great. There's no attitudes. Um, they listened. They were receptive, and truthfully, I didn't have any complaints. Especially coming from mainland China, I was more like with high school kids, and I was like, within the first 3 or 4 days, I knew that I was in the right place. I was like, I made the right move. I, and then not only that, once I arrived, I didn't even know what Pingdong Field looked like. So when I arrived, I was like, oh, this is incredible. Like, this is beautiful. Like, this is going to be awesome. Like, with this facility, this is fantastic. So that was like a great expectation. Now, if I was with one of the other teams and I go to their spring training complex, there's probably a little different idea coming out. But I mean, seriously, I'm very fortunate and very lucky to have that. I think they did a fantastic job of making a really good facility that really maximizes every single thing you possibly can out of the players. It's pretty awesome. So initially I was bought in. I was sold. Like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I think part of that also is the mentality of the entire organization, right? Like you said, if you had gone to another team, maybe you won't be as fond of their facilities. At the same time, the open mindedness of the corporation and of the baseball organization overall is probably what allowed them to put the investment into such a great facility, and then at the
Mm.
same time would be open to somebody walking up to their headquarters and say, "Hey, you give me a shot," and they gave you a shot, and then you ended up being a very good fit to the organization. So I
Yeah.
think that speaks to the culture, or the mentality and the culture of the CTPC brothers, and frankly, that particular mentality, I think, is what separates the brothers from the rest of the league, and that's what allowed the brothers to basically dominate the league for the better part of the last decade. Um, Overall, like over the course of her 7-year tenure in the CPPL, what would you say that you know the CPPL? You can also just focus on the brothers because that's where you have the most experience in,
Mhm.
obviously. But what are they doing right, and what other areas you think we can improve upon in terms of how they approach running the league or running the sport of baseball?
Hmm. I believe that it's run uh, very well, and I mean to have. I'll tell you, I got to see the difference with an odd number of teams and an even number of teams
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
schedule. So I got to see you know what I think some people might say the worst time, just because of like we play one game of Amigo and then the next one, and then play one game with the Lions, and then have a day off and then play two back up north. It's like sheesh. But and
Yeah.
now it's back to the old schedule when I was originally there, which is two or three, two and then three at the wherever. And so I think it's run really well. There's certain things that just like anything, I wish that there was better overall baseball fields in certain places. I love playing at the Lions. I love playing in Tainan. It's a cool feel because it's so close and it's so unique. It resembles there's a bit of feeling when you get there, kind of like if you go to Fenway. It's kind of this
Right.
like you get
Yes.
this feeling where it's like there's this history here, like they've played every game in the CPBL here, and it's pretty cool, and I like it. Um, so I've had bad memories there, but I've had good ones too. um, and but I think Shenzhen does a great job. I think that's probably the closest you can get to a AAA baseball field in every way, shape, and form. The atmosphere, everything. When Sean Morimondo went and when he pitched in his game last season, I went there and I was in the stands and I was like, this is so nice. Like the food is great. Child, like I've never been to a baseball game. Out of all my years, I've only been on
Yes.
the field. And I was like, this place is awesome. Like what a cool feel. And so um I would say playing surface on certain fields is, man, is it boo how. I mean, you know, yeah,
Yep.
sometimes you go to Italian, it's like, oh my goodness, like this place,
Right. Yes.
it may look good on TV sometimes, but then, when I go to take a mound visit, I'm like, what happened to this field? Where's the grass?
Yeah.
It's just that they, I hope that they can fix it and whatever. I mean, but they get a lot of rain too, so it's pretty tough. And I don't think that they have like full-time staff that's there, like, and their main job is, field maintenance. So, I think that they could probably do a better job of hiring a lot of people full-time to take care of every stadium as their career, and
Hmm.
I think that
Yeah.
would be awesome, to really, really pay attention to that and then and go into some really good details of making it just excellent. They're fantastic as it is, but there could always be, everybody can always improve.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's like I love the travel there. It's so easy. It's the easiest travel of any baseball league on earth. I swear, it's unbelievable, and the highways are nice. And
Yes. No
we get
traffic.
two
Well, you guys
buses.
don't really travel during rush hour.
No, no, but sometimes when we play games on holidays and stuff like that,
Oh,
if we're
right.
gonna go
Right.
to if we go to Tallinn or from Tallinn, sometimes that's a pretty brutal trip. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, if it's really bad and I mean, if you're in Tallinn, just take the Gautier.
Yeah.
Just go take the high street. It's right there. So just
Yeah.
just take the MRT right to the HSR and just go down to Taichung if you need. So
Yeah.
it's so convenient.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I think I seriously I would say that updating the clubhouses would be amazing, especially in places like Tainan, where it's so dirty and old and whatever. But that still adds to the feel. I remember when I played in Fenway. I remember it still had that old feel too. It's probably way different now. I couldn't even say it, but it still had like, oh, and you never complained. It's just like this has
Yeah.
so much history. You know. Um, but certain stuff like that, updating some things. But I know that they're getting a new place anyway, so that's going to be fully updated. Um, um,
What do you
what
think
did they
about the
do?
umpires?
Man, you know what? Uh, I think that's for what they do. Okay, I think that it's a tough job. Okay, because they know everybody and they know all their tendencies. They know every single thing about it. But there are some things that come up that just really stand out. That I remember a couple times, just certain things that just should not be allowed that were being allowed. When umpire doesn't say hit by pitch, and then the player just says no, no, it hit me. He's like, okay, take first. I'm like, what? Like, no, like, how are you like? Oh, so is he like not allowed to lie? Like he's like, like just stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
like without just taking initiative right away and be like, time out, check the clock, like check it. No, or just say no and let the teams challenge it. Like, don't just because he says it, oh, you got hit. Oh, okay, well, go ahead and go to first. Just little stuff like that that's happened way more than one time.
Yeah.
Um, Little things like, in the fourth inning, all of a sudden they want my pitcher to change his cleats. I'm like, what are you talking? He's in the fourth inning. Like, no, like he hasn't changed them. Like, you had the first inning, you should have found it then. Like, no, and that should be the umpire saying, like, no, it's too late now. He's already in the fourth inning. Yeah, I remember, I remember watching the game. Gosh, who was it? I think Henry Sosa was pitching, and it was the old manager. Gosh, he's the coach for the Hawks now. And I remember he was I think it was like in the fifth or sixth inning. I can't remember what it was. And
Oh,
he
who
was
you don't?
just
Yeah.
he was dominating, like, and whatever. And then he told the umpire, hey, he needs to take his earrings out. Like, that mind game is just so hard. Like, I thought it was
Yeah.
hilarious. I was like, no way. Like, and if that was, if that was in the Major League Baseball, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, get out of here. Like, no, it's in the sixth inning. Like, get out of here. So, but
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I guess sometimes those
Yeah.
lines are blurred. But I think overall, boy, they've got a really tight strike zone. I've gotten kicked out a few times, as everybody knows. Um, but you know, I probably could have got kicked out a lot more, but I decided not to. But
Mhm.
it's a hard job, and I know it is. But just certain things, when my pitcher's out there and he's going to give up runs because of somebody not paying attention or being fully focused for those 3 hours or 4 hours in that baseball game, it's just unacceptable. And if we're missing pitches that are strikes, or but also too, it's baseball, man, and that's the best thing about it, is that there is human error. So I think
Yeah.
that that's awesome, too. So, but it is what it is, and I don't take back anything I've said to them or whatever. But so no, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a harder
So
job than what people think it is. So
it is. And so I was, I mean, I'm a Purdue fan right now. I'm a Texas fan in the US. I'm a Yankee fan. So I think, when I was at Texas, for example, everybody hated the Big 12 refs. Like the Tech UT was at the Big 12 at the time. Everybody hated the Big 12 refs. And then went to Purdue, but every single Purdue person cannot say a single nice thing about Big 10 refs. And then I was thinking, like, and then Purdue people's like, oh, Big 10 fans, refs are the worst. I'm like, well, no, Big 12 refs are terrible too. And then UT was so, like, fans were so excited that UT was moving to the SEC. Like, oh, we're gonna get better refs. And then as soon as we moved to the SEC, they're like, oh my god, SEC refs are even worse. And so that's, I think, from my observations, like, nobody's happy about the refs, nobody's happy about the umpires, and
never,
I've never
never.
seen, like, I think Major League Baseball, because they do the yeah, they have the umpire, like, report card now on Twitter, so people can go in there, like, oh, this, I think one, I don't remember his name, but like this, an umpire had like the best report card during like a World Series game. That's like the
Yeah,
only time I've ever seen people like, oh my god, he did such a great job. But without those reports, nobody really commends these umpires, because when they do a good job, you're like, oh, of course you're supposed to do a good job. But like,
yeah, it's a thankless job.
like, bad calls are what's being emphasized, obviously, but for good
Yeah,
reason. But at the same time, the other side, when a good call is being called, you it's not being talked about as much. And you talked
yeah.
about watching a game in Xinjiang. I still think Fubon does a terrific job with its baseball team. Outside of the actual baseball being played, which, and you listen to this podcast, so you know exactly my thoughts on Fubon. But like,
I do,
outside of
I
the
do.
actual baseball team, they do a terrific job running their organization. And it is it's, talk about, like, the baseball always had a bad rep about their toilets and restrooms. Xinjiang has a terrific restroom, and so it's a terrific experience as a fan to watch a game in Xinjiang. So
I think so
and
too.
let me
I
ask you
really
this:
think so
I
too.
remember the first time I watched a game in Taoyuan, and my first thought was, "Oh my god, it's so dark." Yeah, my first thought was, "Oh my god, it's so dark here," and I wonder if it's the same way when you're a pitching coach in the dugout.
You know what? It's not as much, but you are correct. It is dark in the stands, though. It is. It's not. I think that there's a few like dark spots in right center. I think it gets pretty dark out there in center. But no, when I'm on the dugout and out there, no, I never see it. But in the stands, yeah, when you look up, you can see down the lines and stuff. It's pretty light. I mean, it's pretty dark. Sorry.
I just remembered, like, I was thinking, like, is this can't be full brightness, right? And then the media people, the reporters, are like, yeah, this is about as bright as it gets. I'm like, ooh, this is not good. So I just wondered, like, on the field wise, like, how it felt. But I on from the talent development standpoint, um what are some of the things that you see, especially let's just say with the brothers because that's where that's where you
Mhm.
were, but like what are the good things that you saw from the players development standpoint, and what are the things that you think could be investment more resources into or can be improved upon?
Yeah, I mean, if I just speak about us, it's, obviously we're doing a good job. Obviously the brothers have done a good job. You know, having good coaches is just as important as having good players. Um, and I think that we've had excellent ones. Um, and I believe on the development side, though, it's not really as big of a deal as it would be in the United States. And the reason is because there's so many levels. Now there are, believe me, I've went to Kupao. I've went to that high school practice.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've watched that team. I've watched them throw bullpens. When I would run, I would stop there, whenever we'd be in Shenzhen or whatever. And even in the off season, if I see those baby blue uniforms, I stop there and look. Some of those guys can pitch in the CPBL right now. Okay, I couldn't say the same that they could be major leaguers right now. Okay, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and I know it. Now, whether they're going to stay there and be there forever and be like an all-star, no. But stuff-wise, 1,000,000%. So, um, that's where the development side is fairly small. Most of the guys, it's going to take multiple years in the States to build up a lot of different aspects to be able to hit, ungodly breaking stuff and 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. You're not going to get that there, in Taiwan. So I don't think you can really compare it. I just think that it's just different.
Mm.
But on the development side for them, it's more, you've got to get them their innings, and you have to make sure that guys are getting into pressure situations. I don't know what it was like before I got there, but I know that when Lin Sun was there, he made it a point that we're winning, and we're winning every game, and because we're not just playing people because they wear the uniform, though that playing time and those things are earned, and I believe in that 100%. I don't think that just because you wear a brother's uniform that you're allowed to pitch on game day on a tie game in the 8th inning unless you've earned it, and that's just how it is. And if we do that on a consistent basis, we're teaching the team how to be winners, and I think that's just as important as developing guys. So especially there, even though that's that, because it's just one level. There's no 3 levels.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There may be like individual talent levels where you're below the minor leaguer and stuff like that, but there is no other level. There's kind of like a pseudo level where they'll play practice games.
Yeah.
But besides that, no. I mean, no. Oh,
Yeah.
Going backwards, I'd like to see the CPBL play 6 games a week.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like that. I think I
Because
believe
they play
100%
5 right now.
they could do it. They could do it.
Mhm.
And it would be 3-3 be awesome. It really would. I'd like that.
Yeah, but interesting. It's always confounding why they can't make that happen because you see
I
the
don't know.
CPBL starting the season before anybody else, but the CPBL also ends the season after everybody else. It's it's like what's going on?
I
And yet
know.
they play the least amount of games they play less in Japan, they play less in Korea, they play less than Major League Baseball.
I know.
It's going back.
Yeah, I'm
You
sorry.
talked
Got off
about the
topic.
no, all good. Because I forgot to ask you about this because you mentioned the let's say hectic schedule of the 5-team league, and I
Mhm.
think it being so unconventional is what pushed the league to really quickly expand to 6. It took the league forever to get to 5, and it took the CBO like 2 years to get to 16. Now I
Mhm.
talked about this on this podcast a lot. Like, don't know if all of a sudden the CPBL and the Taiwanese baseball talent pool expanded by 12% within 2 years, but 16% within 2 years. But you everybody was everybody I knew in the CPBL was just talking about we can't wait for a 16 because of the hectic schedule.
Mm.
So how bad was it? You mentioned a little bit, about this, and would that be a difficult task to tackle if the CPPL is going to expand into 7 teams?
Excuse me. No, it's not a difficult thing. They've already done it, and they can do it. It's a big expense in Taiwan to to have a baseball team. I want to say it's somewhere around a minimum of $10 million a year, U.S. dollars, at least minimum. You know,
Yeah.
so that's a big hefty thing, and we're not selling out every single game. So and money has to come from somewhere. I don't necessarily know. I mean, I know that we're like the Yankees and we sell more merchandise and things like that, but I believe the Dragons sell a lot too, and all the other teams sell a lot. So, but overall, the games are inexpensive to go to. It's a great experience too. I mean, I haven't seen a baseball game back here in the States yet, but I assume I'm going to be like, where is the music?
Yes.
Or wow, these are boring. Something.
Yeah.
But um, I just think that there's there's so many things that go into it that it's hard to develop. And now there's these new teams have history except for the Hawks, correct? So
Yes.
I think if
Yes.
they were to go to a seventh team, wouldn't it make sense to say bring back the Cobras?
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Or
Yeah.
if they go just brand new team again, it might be a little tough. Or I think that if they were to bring back the Cobras, I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
They would
or
have a base
or
for sure. Yeah.
or the Rhinos, or or whatever they can do. So, but I have I think there's no reason why they couldn't expand to 8 teams.
Hmm.
Once you get to 8, I mean, there's not enough space, and it takes a long time to build
Yes.
stuff there. So
Yes.
unless you're going to build it on mountaintops on the east side of the mountain, east side of the island, it's just there's not a lot of space, and but that would be incredible if there was 8 teams in 8 different places. Wow, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome. What a great schedule, an easy schedule. Like
Yeah.
just you
Eight
could just
teams would
boom, boom,
be.
boom, boom. You just
Yeah.
go north to south, play for a month, and then go all the way back up north and play for a month. Like it'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Because I think Taipei has the potential to have one more, but I
Hmm.
don't know if anybody can take on the rent of the Taipei Dome. Because that rent is going to be is very high, and I don't think any team that's brand new will have the culture and the not the culture the fan base that can eat up that cost early on. So I'm sorry. The Dragons technically are in Taipei. I'm in my head they're in Hsinchu, but that stadium's never going to get built. So anyway, so
No.
yes, Taipei already has 2. So yeah, it already has 2, and Taoyuan is up there too. So yeah, I've always thought 7, like by population, I think 7 is the max. 8 will be very tough. At the same time, I think the league is very healthy in terms of they're not over expanding right now. They're not going too quick. They've came out and they said we're gonna wait till the Talks build a fan base, build a culture, and then we will consider a 7th team. They're not going just to add teams, just to add teams.
Hmm.
So I think that from that front, I think that's pretty healthy. Going back to talent development, you've been there for 7 years. It's a very long very long period of time. And it's actually during the period of time where we've seen um, talent evaluation and development in the U.S. and Japan, evolve or revolutionize very quickly and very to a very very huge extent over the 7 years.
Hmm.
Um, what is your take on that? And are you seeing the CPPL following the footsteps? And how quickly are you seeing the CPL following the footsteps of the other leagues?
Yeah, and on my end, my time there, I wasn't I wasn't really into the development side. Even when you're the major league coach, I let the minor league coaches do whatever they wanted to do on the pitching
Mhm.
side, unless I needed somebody or something like that. But I never got involved. Never. I never said you need this guy to pitch or why is he pitching? Why is he? No, never. I let them coach. I never got involved ever. I think that's what you're supposed to do. And then I call you whenever I need somebody. Um, I didn't want that involvement. Uh, I didn't need to. It was fine.
Yeah.
So, and we had good coaches in the minors, so it didn't really matter. And then when I went
Yeah.
to the minors last year, I was only there for a rehab. I wasn't involved in any
Right.
part of development.
Well,
So, but I could see what was going on. I think that on the pitching side we could do better. We think we could do more. But that wasn't my place. And at that time, nobody wanted to listen to me anyways. So, no, so
well,
I just stayed in my rehab side and they can do whatever they want. I didn't really get involved, even though I know a lot of stuff was not right. But oh well, nice people.
yeah. I mean,
Good, it's all good.
what I meant by like, I asked in the realm of development, but I really was thinking about a broader in terms of because like when you evaluate the performance of a player, of a pitcher, for example, like between 2017 and 2024, like in Major League Baseball, at least from the outside point of view, coaches evaluate performances much differently, hitting
Hmm.
wise, pitching wise, fielding wise, even like with the usage of advanced statistics or in
Hmm.
actually just the ability to acquire data has been tremendously has tremendously evolved within the last 7 years.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of hardware investment needs to be put in the CP in Taiwan, but there's also a huge need for, to me, like the software side. You can buy a machine from Japan, you can buy a machine from the US,
Hmm.
but do you have the people, the talent to operate and to maximize the potential of those investment? It to me is the biggest thing. And
No,
how
you're right.
how is your observation? I'm not talking just about development side, but also just using some of the information for game time situations or pitching change situations or anything like that. Do you see a change in the CPBL? Do you see how have you seen it evolve through the years?
Me personally, I used it all the time. So I've always been using it. On the minor league side, especially from what I saw, absolutely zero on the pitching side. Like don't I get either don't believe in it or whatever, but they don't utilize it as much on the minor league side. I know on the big league side they do. Um,
Hmm.
I believe Chiming Wong and Chin, and I believe that they have a little system that they've got going. It was very similar to what Linsun had, what Linsun was doing. Um, and it works obviously, and
Yeah.
uh, but on the minor league side with numbers on the pitching, I
Is it because of
rarely.
lack of data, or is it just
Oh no, not lack of data. No, we have TrackMan and all the information. No, it's not lack of that. Not at all.
Hmm.
I
Yeah?
just
So
I know I can't speak for them, but I've never really seen them in the entire season go through numbers with them. We have a guy who's doing the numbers and editing everything.
Mhm.
His name is Ivan, and he goes through all of the information and gets it up, and he's constantly learning about it. I mean, he knows a lot, and it's good that me and him would go in there and just talk for hours sometimes, and then some of the pitchers, would want to know, well, what does this number mean? What does this mean? And
Mhm.
he's fully versed, and I don't think that any of the other guys are actually even involved. The other coaches on the pitching side, as far as what I saw, it would just be the basic fundamentals of velocity and spin, but none of the induced vertical break or horizontal break or anything like that. Just kind of kept it old school, for the most part.
Mhm.
I didn't see much at all. And
That's
that's
interesting
whatever.
because no,
That's their prerogative, I guess. But why not use it? But
yeah, it's well, okay. So first of all, data is being acquired, right? In the brother
100%.
system. it's acquired. I think the way the Dragons are definitely doing that. And I think there was another podcast came out a few days ago, basically saying there was a few teams, Dragons, Brothers, and one other team I forget, maybe the Guardians. Y'all share data with each other, which I think that's just what I heard.
Yes.
I think that's a huge first step because, when you share information, like I had a guest on about a year and a half ago from Korea, Sung Min. He's very well versed in Major League Baseball system, the Korean system, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, you got to be able to give data to Major League Baseball teams when they
Mm-hmm.
ask for data when they want to evaluate talent. And I thought at the time, like, okay, I'm pretty sure the CPL as a league, like, it's not a league centralized system, but they should do that in order to, have the stuff to send over overseas if they really want to export players over to overseas. So, at least from the data acquisition point of view, things are being acquired. It's just not probably being utilized. And it's an interesting thing because during the Premier 12, Taiwan won the championship. Still excited about that. And then afterwards, they had. I mean, it's the press tour is still going on, and deservedly so. But
Mm-hmm.
it was like there was a 40-man scouting slash data analytics team of following the national team everywhere. They had a team behind the dugout that did all of the analytics and all of the scouting, all of the data processing. That was a huge deal, and then obviously, like you mentioned, Chen I definitely believe Chen Ming definitely uses some of that because, like, based on your observation and based on the results, right? But it seems to me now that it's only occurring at the top end of the coaching talent, a coaching pool in
Mm.
Taiwan. And to me, again, like I mentioned earlier, you can put money in, buy equipment all you want. And these Taiwanese baseball corporations are not lacking of money or resources. The
Yeah.
real hard part is waiting and developing enough talent to use these resources, and maximize the potential of it. And that's what's going to take a long time. It's really easy to build a fighter jet. It's very hard to build a pilot. And and
You
so
better believe it. You better believe it.
yeah, for
That's a
sure.
really really good way to say that. But I think that I don't know if teams don't want to pay it or whatever, but I think that um, there should be TrackMan in every single stadium. We should be getting data in every single stadium, not only the two or three that are available. And not only that, I think that teams should probably. I had mentioned this before in the past that we should pay the coaches, pay for their classes and get them certified in certain things, get them certified in Rhapsody courses, and get them certified in these data analysis, and show them what pitch design is. It's $1,000. What is that to a team that's spending $10 million? It's nothing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
nothing. So just educating them, getting them certified in it, and then not only that, teaching them how to use it, how to use that data. Just knowing it isn't going to be good enough, but getting some hands-on training to really understand how you can use it correctly. Because I'm telling you, right now, I used it a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I did behind the scenes because nobody understood what the numbers meant. So I would just go through it and I would see all the numbers, find out what's going on, and find out their averages, find out what their good numbers are. And like I said last time, in my notebook had all of their numbers in them. So I knew if something was going on, I could always revert back to something that had a solid foundation. I know that this means fantastic and this is great. So what is he at? Okay, what's the difference? So then try to find out, hey, you're dropping down a little bit, or hey, you're too high, you're pulling off. So it's a great tool to have because it is a fact. It is a fact based on a
you
number.
can't debate it. Yeah, yeah,
You can't really. I mean, sometimes there's misreads and stuff like that, and people will whatever. But I think they used to do the same thing with radar guns a long time ago too. Like, are you sure that's right? And
yeah.
but I know the Dragons use it a lot. I know that for a fact. I've got coaching friends over there. I know they use it a lot, and they're doing a good job of it. I think that we have a lot of it, but I think that oh, sorry, the brothers. Um, probably could do more, get a little bit more educated, educate the players a little bit more on exactly what the things are. They might have done it. I don't know. I was never invited to those meetings last year, but from what I saw, the guys would be talking in there with the analytic guy and not the coaches on the baseball on the pitching side. But yeah, no, I think yeah, every stadium should have it, and then just educate all the coaches and everything, and just have them as like a prerequisite. And if they can choose to use it or not, but what they'll find is that it really does work. Like
Yeah,
I used it every single chance I got. So
yeah. And I think the Premier 12, I think its legacy in Taiwanese baseball, more than just the first championship, will be it's a living proof that if you provide Taiwanese players with the data and the information, they can play at such a high level that was unforeseen in Taiwan. Like you look at how like the hitting approaches of this Taiwanese team during this Premier
mhm.
12 was night and day compared to what it was before. And I think every Taiwanese baseball fan knows exactly what I'm talking about, which is like you would like normally you go up there traditionally they will always take a pitch because they're not familiar with the pitcher, but it with the amount of homework that we've done, the resources that we've invested, and the players are very invested in as well. If you, I mean, the ones on
Yes.
the Taiwanese team, it's like if you give them the information, they're willing to sit down and listen to you and absorb that. They're smart people. They're not just gonna go like, oh, I don't care, and just gonna go up there and hit a home run. Like
Oh
they're
no.
very smart and they're willing to absorb that information. It's just how do you process it in order for them to take it in?
Yeah. Well, you know, it is a business too. So you know, you know, um, each team would have to spend a lot of money to be able to have a scouting department
Mhm.
on them like that. When it's for the entire Taiwan, it's there's no expense, you know, that's not going to
Right.
be paid for that. So that's more of an individual thing. I don't know. You know, I'm not in those conversations. You'd have to ask the GMs or the assistant
Yeah.
GMs of like why. But I think that tech and everything is what I can see and what I can hear while I'm over here is that it's not necessarily taking over completely. It's it was for a while. Teams are kind of have their one team does a lot of analytics and another team won't. So everybody has their own way, is what I've been
Mhm.
told. Firsthand knowledge on that, I don't know, but just what I've told. Like this team is known to be using a lot of data and they want this data. And then some teams like, oh, we don't worry about the data as much. We will use it, but we are gonna
Yeah.
focus on the coaching part and make sure that we're getting experience mixed with the numbers. So you still
For
need to
sure.
be educated on it because some of these players, they get it. Like they
Yeah.
know it. Like there was a pitcher the other day throwing a bullpen and he's just, you know, what's my horizontal? Like he already knows what his horizontal
Yeah.
pitches is. He already knows. Hey, what was that? What was that? What was that horizontal on that? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
8.5. All right, cool. So he knows without asking or thinking, is it a good pitch? He knows by that number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's many guys in that league who can actually who know what their numbers are. Yeah,
Right.
on
Right.
our team, you know,
Yeah.
on the brothers. I don't know. I really couldn't
Yeah.
tell you. I think guys like Munoz, 71. I
Mhm.
think he knows because he's always in there talking about it, and you
Mhm.
know that kid's going to be really good because he cares. So it's
Yeah. No, I was just, I I think, it's the result of the Premier 12 is a living proof that if you provide numbers, the players can perform at a higher level. And if you're a smart CPBL team, if you want to win championships, if you're on the forefront of that race, of that data analytical race, you're going to be, you should be able to dominate for a while because it is a race right now. It's not like the MLB where all 30 teams, like you said, are somewhat in it or somewhat not. Like right now, the it's kind of a race to see who gets to perfect their own model first. And I think it is based on your answers. It seems like the CPO
yeah,
overall is it. Yeah, is that a pretty premature phase of that race? Um,
yeah. I
very
think
one question. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say that on the hitting side for us, Daniel, the hitting coach,
Mm-hmm. Catalan, yeah,
he
yeah.
knows it front and back. He knows the data front and back. He's
Mm-hmm.
excellent, and I noticed the difference in the swings just by watching. I could see
Yeah.
the difference. I really could. So
Yes.
he's a perfect example of what the numbers can do. Like
Yes.
he had a lot of different bats swinging and everything, and like you could see the way that they were swinging the bat. They had confidence in taking really big swings and just like it was just different, And
Yeah.
so hats off to him.
Yeah, and Daniel Catalan actually was featured in a baseball podcast by really famous baseball YouTubers in Taiwan. I just don't know their
Mm,
English name right now, but
I saw that.
yeah, it's a very good podcast. Their interview was only 30 minutes because of some, I think, based on the description, it was like there was some conflict, scheduling conflict. But
Mm,
it's one of those things where it's very big because they went deep dive into like data analytics, how to use it to maximize player talent and stuff like
hmm
that, and where Taiwan is overall on that front. So that
hmm
interview was what it's inspired some of the questions in this particular one
Oh yeah,
because
no, it's good.
because yeah, that was terrific. That interview was terrific, and if you're interested, I can put that I'm not being paid by them. I don't know the podcast people, but that's a terrific interview. I can put it in the description. Um, Very unfair question for the CPBL overall, and is one that I talked about for like I spent like 20 minutes once talking about why this question is being asked a lot, but
Mhm.
also why it's unfair. But despite being unfair, why it's on the forefront of basically every single conversation in Taiwanese baseball. We talk to like those outside fans or non-baseball fans who are trying to when you're trying to convert them over to the CPBL, the first question is like, how? But where's the CPBL compared to the minor league baseball system? So, what first of all, where do you think it is, and what do you think of that question?
Uh, you know, I've been asked that question a few times, and truth of the matter is, I don't think you can put it at a certain level all the way around. Um, through the time of what I've seen through the league, I believe that the 2018 Lamigo Monkeys were probably one of the hardest teams to ever pitch against ever. Um, and I I couldn't think of anything being harder team to pitch against at that point in time. And that's me having, you know, uh, experience in upper levels and everything. So, but and of course, we don't have 100-mile-an-hour arms, and there's so many different variables that we can't really, you know, get into. But
Right.
a lot of people have said it's double A. A lot of people have said that in the past. Some people say, especially international scouts, if somebody has good numbers in AAA, he's going to do extremely well in the CPBL. But I've also seen the opposite, where people have had a lot of major league experience and come there and get their butt
Mhm.
kicked.
Yeah.
So it's so. I think it just depends. If if you go into the league as a baseball player with major league time and you think you're just going to go there and dominate, I've seen guys try to do that and really struggle hard. And then I've seen the other guys who want to be there and want to learn everything and just do well, and they never had a day in the major leagues. I mean, look at Mike Lurie. Look at him.
Yeah.
No major league experience, and look at him. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely a student and a person who just has got a good head on his shoulders, totally understands it, and knew that he's got something special here, and he did the best that he could. And look at that career, incredible. Like the Taiwan, I mean, I even have his jersey. I have that special jersey. I bought it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's a special thing to see somebody like that. Like, oh, it's Taiwan. I don't care. That's the major leagues. And when
Mhm.
you're there and you're coaching there, if you think that that's a lower level, why would you do that? And as far as I'm concerned, that's every bit of the major leagues to me when I'm in it. So
Mhm.
I would never compare that to the major leagues at all. But now being gone and away, I can kind of have a little bit of a different idea. I will say this: what I do now and the guys that I'm playing catch with right now are nasty, and
Mhm.
they are some hard throwers that we don't see on a consistent basis in Taiwan. Not like this. You've got
Mhm.
some of those standouts. Started from Lions, started from Dragons.
Yeah.
Um, you've got some upper 90s, mid 90s arms, but here it's like everybody's got
Yeah.
what an incredible arm. It's impressive, and it's awesome. But
Mhm.
it's just different, So I couldn't I could roundabout answer, but I really couldn't give you a full definite thing, because there's sometimes where I swear we were playing the Yankees in the Bronx when we're
Yeah.
in Italian Stadium. I'm like, this is like, oh, this is so impossible to get these hitters out. The most
Mhm.
clutchest hitters I've ever seen in my life. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine hitters being better than that at that point.
Yeah. It
But that's the PPBL. That's why, on the pitching standpoint, you have to be on top of your game. You have to be prepared, because you're not going to fool them anymore. Like, they know everything that you have, so you've got to
yeah.
be on top of your game, and you've got to be precise, and you can't take one pitch for granted, because that pitch may not come back to you. It might be, in the stands or off the wall, and then four pitches later, you've given up 3 runs, and with 4 doubles. It's like, what
Yeah.
the heck happened? So it's just how it is. It's just different.
Yeah. It's I love that answer because I get asked that question a lot. Even with baseball fans in the United States, they're
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, you should watch the CPBL. Like, oh, but what level are they at? Like, it's always like, oh, you can't. It's a very complex question, but they all often expect a simple answer, and you're like, oh no, it's hard to, it's different. There are good teams and bad teams. Are like, and then they act as if, oh yeah, just I know it's not it's not apples to apples, but just give me like so I can have an idea, right? All right, it's probably people say it between double A, triple A, and then like they tell you they're not going to use your answer to judge the league, but that they're using your answer to judge the league, and you're like,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
it's just the way it is. I talked about this a lot. Like people want to know what they're watching, and they want to know what they're watching compared to the most popular baseball league product in the world, which is Major League Baseball. And I
Mhm.
understand why they ask that question. I understand the need of asking that question, but it's different, and
I I
it's
also
just the
believe
way it
that
is.
that's also probably from people who've never been to the States, and kind of just, maybe they're curious and they really want to know,
Yeah.
where do we match up? And
Mhm.
that's a valid question. But I couldn't give you a really great great answer, because
Exactly. And
I really can't.
it's like that's why international tournaments because become such a big deal. Even though it's
Hmm.
unfair for anybody to judge any league based on like a 90 inning game, like
Yes.
it's like Taiwan beat Japan in the finals. Does that mean the CBBL is better than Japanese baseball? No, like they lost them twice before. But
I know.
most of Taiwanese fans are, oh, I've only watched one single game and we won 4-0, and Japan never touched third base. They're like, you know, so it's I think my answer would be, look, like Taiwan played against some of the best talent outside of 40-man roster, Team USA. Now the pitching on that team wasn't as good as their hitting side, as always, because teams are less likely to let go of their pitching talent for international tournaments like that. But
Mhm.
we won 7-2, or we won 7-4, like whatever it was. And I'm like, look, you can use that as example, but there's never a clean cut answer like that they want. And the top of the CPBL can probably be compared to that, but the CPBL is more than just 28 players that's on Team Taiwan every single time. So,
Yeah, yeah, it really
um,
depends. It's just,
yeah,
I really couldn't give it to you. That
yeah,
would be from somebody else saying double A. So
yeah,
I really couldn't say it.
right,
I just think that when I'm in it, it's the major leagues to me. So
mhm,
that's the way I looked at it.
yeah. This is from a listener question, and if you're listening, if you want to ask questions, we've got one more of these interviews scheduled. So please, comment or DM me, whatever you like. Bring up questions in. But one of the questions from a listener is that, are there any parts of CPBL culture that you wish were more prominent in the American baseball culture?
Mm. Oh, that's a good one. Um, you know, I've always come there just to, when I first got there, I always said to myself, baseball is baseball. And there is you can't use culture in baseball, because a game is a game is a game is a game.
Yeah.
So, but there is differences. There is a different level of, almost like a friendly league, meaning that everybody knows each other. They've
Mhm.
either played together or are cousins or they're brothers, or everybody has a relationship. They know each other. Nothing like nothing goes without saying in that place. Everybody knows what's happening. If you pitch in one game and you have a good pickoff move, the entire league knows it next time.
Yeah.
It's just such a unique thing that maybe I wish that there was some more of that. But ultimately, especially when you come over here on the western side, this is a really, really big business, and they want to win championships, and they want, and there is no friendships when we're playing baseball. It's on. It's game time. We can talk after, but right now it's time to roll. There's, in Taiwan, you can see them while they're stretching in between innings or and before the game, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" They're talking out in the center field or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but I know that our coaches would be screaming on. He's screaming at him like, "What are you doing? Get out of here! Like, take him to dinner after the game. Like, get out of here! Like, let's get you focused on the game right here." And that just was never an issue there. They always knew to turn it on, turn it off, and there was a friendliness there. From the guys, you could tell that the thing that I could really tell is that everybody cares. That was something I could really, really tell. Everybody cares. There's just a level of caring that I don't think you see too much. They all care about each other in some way, shape, or form. They don't want to see other guys get hurt. They don't want to see these things. And a collision, you can tell that these guys are like, yeah, anything that happens bad, they're on the top step because they know each other so well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty unique and it's pretty cool. But on my side, as a pitching coach, I don't want that. I want them to be enemies until the game's over. I gotta don't talk to them. Like, stop it. Like, there used to be somebody that's we had a previous guy like, don't tip your cap or if you hit somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like that's not that's a different culture. That is a different culture in baseball, 100%. Japan does it, but those guys will fight you to the death on that team.
Yeah.
But they hit you. Hey, sorry about that. But immediately after that, it's game time.
Yeah.
And so it's that's just different. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, I guess some of that. There's a lot of caring. These guys just care about each other.
Yeah,
I think really see it.
I think you see that difference, like that not the misunderstanding, but when you see a new foreign player in those dugouts, because every 6 months or every 4 months there's going to be a new guy, right? And then you see how they react to hit by pitches versus the rest of the dugout. And then it's always like it looks like nothing against this not nothing against foreign pitchers or anything. I'm not sliding them, but the cultural difference is so obvious when those situations happen because like, why are you hitting my guy, man? And people are like, dude, he's not they played with each other in high school, right? Like nobody's trying to throw at each other on purpose. They know each other way too well, but then it's always the foreign player will come on, well, like a new guy that just came back from minor league baseball, from abroad, like Yu Chang last year, for example. Like he will come and say, why are you hitting my guy? Like, just chill out here. We're not trying to hate each other. We've been friends for like 20 years or been friends for 15 years. Everybody chill out. And so I remember like one of the hit by pitches last year. It was just I think brothers football or thing. It was like there's a hit by pitch, and bench is cleared, and then it was like a couple of guys that was going at it the most. It was Yu Chang and like this foreign pitcher. I forget what it was, and I was just like, and then my mom texted me like, "What's going on?" You're like, "Why are they trying to hit my guys?"
Oh,
like,
I think that was
nobody is.
I think that was him and Eric. I think that was
Stout. Yeah,
I think it was. Like, I remember that game.
Yeah, and I was telling my mom, I was like, they're not trying to hit each other. Nobody's trying to hit each other in this league because everybody knows each other. But some of the players,
there has been, and since I've been a pitching coach, there has been, and I never went up and told a pitcher to do it, but there's been pitchers who have done it, and I think vice versa too on their end too as well. So it is part of baseball. Some people say it's out of date and whatever, but there is certain things that you can control and certain things you can't. And there's a place for some old school baseball, and then there's a place for letting certain things slide, and other things you got to stand up for. And that's an individual thing. I don't look down upon any part of that. of letting
Sure.
somebody say who they are and be who they want to be with emotion.
I asked you earlier that what was your first observation about CPPL, but a listener asked, what is the most impressive part of what are you most impressed about CPPL players?
About the players?
Yes,
Yeah.
in
About the
general.
players in general. Like, there's a lot of things to be impressed about. So there's not one thing. That, like you said, like I just mentioned right there, like the care, um, their attention, their ability to listen and to really do things and try to do them correctly and to have no attitude. Every player that I've been around, except for probably two guys over the last 7 years, have been awesome. Awesome. Like I want a team full of all of them.
Hmm.
And I mean, 2 out of 7 years, like really, that's it. Like that's incredible. Like you don't see that everywhere else in the world. And I know that these other coaches can say the same. But that's me as a foreign coach. So um, I don't know. Maybe if they're local coaches, I know that they're sometimes they can be a bit more harsh and like this guy, or whatever. But from what I can see and what I've done with my own eyes, like there's only been two guys who really kind of had attitude. And besides that, I have nothing but great things to say about the players and their ability to listen and to try new things and to learn from mistakes. But I can only speak for my guys. I don't know what it's like on the other spots, but I mean that's one thing, and they just show that they care. There's respect out there, so there's a lot of things. It's not just one.
Yep. When you another listener question, did you observe any cultural differences when you're working with a Taiwanese pitcher versus a foreign pitcher? And if so, how did you adapt based on who you were coaching at the time?
Okay, yes, there was one individual, Dayuan. Okay,
Yeah.
Dayuan on my first season there. I came in kind of guns blazing, a little bit probably over the top. Now that I look at it, it's just because I wanted stuff to be done correctly, and I had heard things, and I had seen some stuff that I didn't really like, and the guys were kind of being lazy or whatever, and I was a little over the top. And him being, we're almost like 2 years apart from each other. Um, he he came to my room when I was in Pingdong on my first season. He came to my room with the translator and just sat and talked with me and basically said, like, if you continue to do this, these guys are never going to listen to you. And I took it straight to heart. And I said, well, all right, well, like, thank you. And I have always had a really good relationship with him ever since that. And
Mhm.
I respect the hell out of him for doing that, and I thank him for that because if I would have stayed on that route, nobody would have liked me because that was way too hard and too like let's go and like very wanted things to be done perfect, and if not, go do more, and it just was unrealistic, and so I think of that moment all the time of when he came into my room and did that. So that was something that was like that was awesome. That changed
Yeah.
everything. Changed my whole entire outlook, my whole entire everything. And I put my ego gone. I just threw it away. And that was that was awesome. I still think about it. Every time I see him, I always give him a hug. I even bought his book, and I don't speak any part of that language. I bought his book, and actually, I even think I have his keychain in here. Hang on, I think I do. I think I have his keychain because I always buy stuff whenever they have special stuff for my guys. Like whenever they have like anytime a pitcher or something like that has like a new like keychain or something like that, I always go and I buy it or I never asked them for it. The only thing I asked for was when uh when Zillion when he got that when he got that 12 consecutive and he had these towels made, I was like, I
Mhm.
want one of those so bad. And he got me one, and I have them here with me. And like I was like, that is so cool. I have all the towels from all the players. I've saved them all. Like So I know it's here somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. I swear I know it's in this room. I just don't know where because I have stuff everywhere. But I have
Look,
valuables
we
there.
trust you. We trust you.
But what was the original question? I got lost.
It was what is the are there any cultural differences between working
Mhm.
with a Taiwanese player versus a
Oh,
foreign
that's right.
player in adaptation, and if whether you how do you adapt to that?
I tried to, and also I tried to teach. I especially after that Dalian incident, I I tried to treat them all the same, no matter what. So I wouldn't want to treat a foreigner different than I did a local guy. I've always done that, and I've tried to do that my best as possible. Um, and I hope I did a good job at that because when it gets down to it, at the end of the season, I've said many times to those guys and my pitchers, I love you guys, and I mean that. I say what I mean. I mean what I say. Um, and so that's kind of the only difference is that I would see is that there's always an automatic okay with the
Yes.
Taiwanese. It's always okay, okay, but I don't know how much gets in completely. I would like for them to speak up more, have an
Mm.
opinion, say you don't like it. Don't just do what a coach says.
Good.
Find out what works for you. Have a voice into it. Tell them no. I don't like that, or I don't think that's right. That hurts when I do this, or don't just do everything a coach says. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand with our team, especially in the minors last year on the pitching side. Just do anything. Like, don't ask questions. Just do whatever you're told. And you know what? There's good things to that, but then there's also, I think a player has a voice, and
Mm.
people always think that like Unsa and I had this great, fantastic relationship, but he was also really difficult, and we had arguments
Mm.
together that you know I didn't talk to him for like 4 days one time. 4 days. I played catch with him every day, but I did not say a word to him, and he did not say a word to me. And it's just because we were both mad at each other. We still went there. We still got our job done. We still did our things right, but we just didn't talk. And then finally, we worked it out. And
That's impressive.
it's fine. It's all part of
Yeah.
it. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's not nothing's personal. It's baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. That's impressive. You're not talking to one of the pitchers you're coaching for 4 days. That's
Yeah, and I'm playing
yeah.
catch with him every day.
Did the translator talk to him, or like, dude, just like, don't talk to this guy until we
I
figure
mean,
something out?
I've never told a translator don't talk to him or any way, shape, or form, but I can't remember him. I just remember I was like, all right, was he done? And he just wait, like, I'm gonna see if he's gonna talk to me, and like, he just walked away. You good? Whatever. Just walks away. I just give me a
Yeah.
thumbs up and just walks away. I'm like, all right, looks like he's good. Carry on.
Yeah.
Because what am I gonna do? Go up and just try to kiss his butt? He's got to work it out too, and he has a personality and he has an attitude. So they'll let him work it out, and then we'll sit down, we'll talk about it together, and it's all good. And then, hey, I'm sorry too.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna tell you I'm sorry too. But no matter what, even during that time, I don't care how mad I was, I'm still gonna do everything I can for him because no matter what he does, he can't make me not like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I got a job to do for you.
Before we end this one, because we're approaching the 90-minute mark, what want to ask you about a non-baseball question, which is, what is the best sightseeing experience you've had in Taiwan during the 7 years?
Ooh, I haven't had much time to do anything. It's funny. My wife drives around. Whenever I'm with my wife and we're driving, say, "Oh, take a left on Gongyang Road and take this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She just forgets that I've been
Yeah.
riding on a bus for years.
Yeah.
But I think for me, wow, I did the KOM by myself.
KOM.
You know the KOM, the bike ride that goes from Taroko Park all the way to the very top, and what's that? Wule?
Oh, okay. I didn't
I
hear
dro-
about. I didn't hear of that before. Okay, but that sounds
Oh no,
that sounds like a
it's a
fun one.
it's a big race. I think it's in October every year, but I can't do
Uh-huh.
it during the season.
Yeah.
So we went to Hualien for the first time. I brought my bike with me, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and then I just rode from the hotel all the way to the top to Wulin,
Hmm.
and then got a van to take me all the way back, so because I had practice that day.
Yeah,
That
that's cool.
that was unbelievable. That was one of the
Yeah,
most beautiful things I ever seen. That gorge of
Hualien
just going.
is
Oh,
amazing. Yes,
I mean, people, if they ever go to Taiwan, please go to Hualien. Like the rocks
yes.
are even different color. Like I have a bag of rocks here that I'm gonna polish because they have like a bluish color to them, and the
Mhm.
water is so blue, and the
It's
mountains are
fantastic.
massive. It's
Yes.
beautiful. I remember when I started the bike ride, it was hot. I mean, it's the summertime. I remember it was hot, and by the time I got to the top, I had to put a jacket on because it was like 20 degrees because it was, 4,000 meters high.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, anybody who wants to do that bike ride,
Mm.
holy smokes, that is not fun. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that is not fun.
I
But it's
can already
beautiful. I
imagine.
mean, I know when you're riding your
Yeah.
bike, all you see is these big chunks out of the road because rocks have been falling onto the road. It's just
Mm.
like, oh, well,
Yeah.
if that rock hits me, I'm going bye bye. I won't even
Yeah.
feel it. I am dead.
Yeah.
That's one of them. I love Taidong.
Yes.
I also liked going on the water side of Taichung and going out to
Oh, okay.
went outside there to the ocean side. Went to Summerlin Lake. I loved that. I had a great
Mhm.
experience there. I met a really good friend there. I still talk to Dennis, Dennis and Connie. And um, what else have I done there? I mean, we've went to the museums, the science museums in
Mhm.
Taipei. The only thing we didn't do was go to the zoo, I think. But everything else,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I've ridden almost every single bike trail in Taipei's entirety, from New Taipei City all the way to Nangang, past there, all the way to
Oh,
Geelong.
wow.
I've done that. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Um, and what else?
Well, that's a lot
Oh,
already. You've probably been to more places than I have.
so,
Because I just
you
don't
know,
do a lot of sightseeing in Taiwan. But
but this was all of that stuff was accumulation of 7 years, and
sure,
but
sure.
a lot of that happened like my last year because I actually
Yeah.
had time to do
Yeah.
stuff. While you're in the majors, you don't have time to do any of that.
Yeah.
That because
Yeah.
I'm playing catch on Mondays, on days off, and everything, so I don't have time to do anything.
Yeah, I've always said that, like, to explain, the to Toroko National Park, you know, Taiwan overall, like its land area is about the size of Maryland, the United States, but
Mhm.
the tallest mountain is half the size of Mount Everest. So so there are places, and there's a good portion of the island that's flat, right? So you can do agricultural stuff, but about the other half of the island is just mountains, and it goes straight up because the land area is very small, but the peak of the island is very, very tall. And so
Absolutely.
Taroko is one of those places where you don't need a license to get into. Just not like you sound like the tallest mountain in Taiwan. You need a license to get into that. But Taroko, you can go in whenever you like. Outside of like the some of the most challenging trekking, not trekking, what hiking courses. You don't need you could just walk in there. It's
Yep.
very tall. You have huge stones and rocks around you at all times. Um,
Everywhere.
but when you're in the out with those like little windows of sunlight you get to see in those on those stones, and you look outside and you see the Pacific Ocean. It's not like you're seeing like the other, like another rock, right? It's like you're seeing the Pacific Ocean through those
Mm.
through those trails. And a funny story actually, to Chinese people, there was about a 10-year period when obviously China had a lot of tourism going to Taiwan, and they've always touted Hualien as the only, because Chinese people, they obviously see Taiwan as part of the country. They
Of
always say
course.
that Hualien is the only place in China that can see the Pacific Ocean. Because everywhere else, if you go from Shanghai, you see the East China Sea. You don't see the
Yep.
Pacific. And if you go to Hong Kong, you see the South China Sea. You don't see the Pacific.
Yeah.
But only Taiwan is the only place in their country that can see the Pacific Ocean, and it's a beautiful coast, terrific coast, to just sightsee. And
Oh,
they actually
and then
built
drive.
they built a road on it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
terrific. I mean, I don't
oh,
know how you
that
focus when you're driving on it. It's beautiful, and
it's unbelievable.
yeah,
Especially if you're fortunate to have a clear day and to
yes,
take that drive in the daytime. It's unlike. I mean, I've been to a couple places. I remember when I went to like Monte Carlo and Nice.
mm,
It was similar to looking down like whoa,
yeah,
it's unbelievable, and it's just like that. You're just winding,
yeah,
huge tunnel that's
yeah,
only big enough for a bus. It's a
yes,
1 lane tunnel, and then all of a sudden you come out and it's just coastline. It's like, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah, and it's
And the drive
beautiful.
and the drive
Yeah,
to Taidong from say Pingdong, you drive to
mhm.
Taidong, you get on that coastline. It's like, whoa, look how beautiful it is. So Taiwan has got some really incredible places. Truly incredible.
Yep, not sponsored by the Taiwanese Tourism Bureau, but very, very cool stuff. Thank you again, John, for coming on the show. We'll have one more coming up, and it will be mostly about the 2025 season preview. I need to go start doing some homework on that for that episode, but yeah, we got one more scheduled, and then I'm sure we'll, if opportunities come up, we'll do some more because I'm absolutely loving our conversations.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'll get fully versed on everything of all the foreigners and everything that's going on. I've got some inside scoop, so I'll definitely
no,
let
perfect.
everybody know.
Well, that's great. Again, to all listeners, if you have any questions for John or if questions for me, feel free to let us know. We'll feature it in our conversations coming up. So thank you guys. Thank you guys again for listening, and then we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, thank you everybody.